Alright, we're going to move into Chapter 3, Lesson 4. So now last lesson, we did decimals multiplying it with whole numbers. Now we're going to multiply decimals with decimals. So we're multiplying two or three or more decimals together. So in the real world link, the table shows the weight of a 1 pound object on each planet. So if you look, Mercury, it weighed 3/10 of a pound. Venus, 9/10 of a pound. Obviously 1 pound on Earth. Okay, 3/10 of a pound on Mars, 2.3 on Jupiter, 1.8 and 1.1 on Neptune. So a half-pound object weighs 1/2 as much as a 1 pound object. So if a cheeseburger weighs a half pound on Earth, what will it weigh on Jupiter? So if it weighs half as much on Jupiter, and it weighs, so basically it's a half pound on Earth, and we're looking for half of that. So if we divide this out, okay, so if there's a half pound object weighs 1/2 as much as a 1 pound object, if a cheeseburger weighs a half pound on Earth, so we have a half pound on Earth, what will it weigh on Jupiter? Well, if we look at Jupiter, okay, so 1 pound would be that, so we're going to have to divide that by, we're basically cutting that in half. So it's actually going to be 1.15 pounds. Okay, so 1.15, because we're basically taking half of this. So now, what would a barbell that weighs 5 pounds on Earth weigh on Jupiter? Well, in this case, okay, if it weighs 5 pounds on Earth, we're going to have to multiply that by 2.3. So we're going to do 2.3 times 5. So that'd be 15, 10, 11. Move the decimal one, so 11.5 pounds. 11.5 pounds. So on Earth, it weighs 5 pounds, and on Jupiter, it weighs 11.5 pounds. So it says, use the results from exercises 1 and 2 to find 5/100ths times 2 and 3/10. Okay, so if you look at that, 0.05 times 0.23. Okay, looking at these two answers, since we multiplied it by 5 here, we move the decimal over there. If you look at this one, it's still the same 3 numbers, but the decimal point's in the wrong place. Because if you look, we did 0.5, we did 5, now we're doing 0.05. So I'm going to move the decimal to the left 2 times, just out of the pattern, just because of the pattern, and I know that this is our answer. Because if you look at these numbers, so if a half pound one weighed 1.15, a 5 pound, so we had 0.5, we had 5, now 0.05, okay, that's what's going to affect the decimal. Alright, so looking at that, let's go on to the next page. And I'll get more in depth of what I was just talking about. So multiplying with decimals. So once again, we're just going to multiply the whole numbers, and then at the very end, that's when we worry about the decimal point. Okay, so on this first one here, we have 3 6/10 times 5/100ths. So they went ahead and wrote this out. Okay, it's 5 times 3 or 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 3 is 15, but you gotta add 3, so 18. 0, 0. Okay, so 0.108. The reason they have that decimal there is because if you look, 1, 2, 3. There are 3 decimal places. 1 in this one, 2 down here. So it's just like the last lesson, but this time both of them have decimals, so you're going to have to move them, you might have to move the decimal point more. So looking at this, find 112 thousandths times 7 2/10. So 0.112 times 7.2. Okay, if you look at this number right here, that has 3 decimal places. This one right here just has 1. So at the very end, we're going to have 4 decimal places. We're going to have to move the decimal 4 times, so there's 4 numbers behind it. Okay? So now we're just going to go ahead and multiply this out. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, we're going to jump down. 7 times 2, 14. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 1 is 8. 7 times 1 is 7. So we add this up. 4, 6, 10, 8. Might have to annex a 0 here. So now we have to move this 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our answer is 0.8064. 8,064 10,000ths. Okay? So you're still just multiplying, guys, but now you just got to worry about the decimal at the very end. It just might be moved a couple extra places. So, jumping over to page 205. On number 1, we have 7/10 times 4/10. So, 0.7 times 0.4. If you look, this has 1, this has 1. If you want to do that before every multiplication problem, just know that this has 1 decimal place, this one has 1 decimal place. So at the very end, we're going to have to add them up and move it 2 times. So 7 times 4 is 28. Now we know that we have to move it 2 times because there's 1 and 1, so 1, 2. 28 hundredths. And you can add a 0 there if you want, you don't have to. Okay, looking at number 3 now. So if we look, this one has 2 place value or decimal places, and this has 1 decimal place. So at the very end, we're going to have to add those up and move it 3 times. So if you need to do this, guys, go right ahead, just so you know how many decimal places there are. So 52 hundredths times 2 and 1/10. So I'm just, like I said before, you do not have to line these up. The decimal point does not have to be lined up in multiplication. Now it does with addition and subtraction, but not multiplication. So 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 5, 5. Okay, jump down. 2 times 2, 4. 2 times 5, 10. We add these up. 2, 9, 0, 1. Okay, so I said there was 3 before, so I got to move it 3 times. So 1.092. 1 and 92 thousandths. Okay, so that's how that one works. So go back, and I want you guys to do A, B, and C at the bottom of page 202. A, B, and C at the bottom of page 202. So pause the video and come back. Alright, now that you're back, we're going to go ahead and go through these. So, on letter A, okay, we have 5.7 times 2.8. 5 and 7/10 times 2 and 8/10. So we have 1 there, and we got 1 there. Place value, or decimal places. So 7 times 8 is 56. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 5 is 45. 2 times 7, 14. 2 times 5 plus 1 is 11. 6, 9, 5, 1. Now, I said down here it was 1 and 1, so we have 2. So I just got to move it twice. 15 and 96 hundredths. Okay, letter B. Alright, we have 4 and 12 hundredths times 5 hundredths. Okay, if I look down here, we have 2 here, we have 2 there. So all together we're going to have 4. So we're going to move 4 times at the very end. So 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. 5 times 4 is 20. 0 times 2, 0. 0 times 1, 0. 0 times 4, 0. So we add this up. Okay, so I got to move it 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 2,060 10,000ths. And like I said, you can add a 0 there in the front of the decimal point, but you do not have to. Okay, and the final one, letter C there. Okay, we have 14 thousandths. Well, that's 3 decimal places, and 3 and 7/10, which is just 1. So at the very end, we're going to have to move it 4 times. So now we have 0.014 times 3.7, 3 and 7/10. So 4 times 7, 28. 4 times 1, or 7 times 1, 7 plus 2 is 9, and 7 times 0 is 0. 3 times 4, 12. 3 times 1, 3 plus 1 is 4, and 3 times 0 is 0. Okay, we add those up. Now, I know I have to move it 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer is, you can put a 0 in front of the decimal, but you don't have to, 518 10,000ths. Okay, so that's how A, B, and C work. Now, on the next page, you're still doing the same thing, but you might have to annex a 0 in some situation, like this one. So example number 3, we have 1 decimal value places, and 3 decimal places here. So we have 4 altogether, just like we did on letter C. Okay? So they went ahead and multiplied this out, and then at the very end they knew they had to move it 4 times. So if you look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this has 5 decimal places in example number 4. And it says annex zeros if needed. You don't always have to. It just depends on the situation. So now I'm just going to go ahead and multiply this out. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1 is 13. 3 times 0, 0, and 1. Alright, so we move down a level. 5 times 5, 25. 5 times 4, 20, plus 2 is 22. 5 times 0, 0, plus 2 is 2. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add these up. 5, 8, 3, 2. And I said already I had to move it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have a problem here with blank space. That's what I'm talking about, annexing zeros. And you can put one there too if you want. So your answer should be 2,385 ten-thousandths, 0.02385. Okay, we're not going to go through all that. You don't need to do all that. Okay, so that's how you multiply with decimals. So let's go back to page 205 again, and we're going to do number 4. So if you look at number 4, we have 1 there and 2 there. So altogether, that's going to be 3 decimal places at the very end. So 6.2 times 0.03. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. 0, 0. 6, 8, 1. And I already said I had to move it 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. 0.186. And like I said, you can annex a 0 in the front. Now, let's look at number 6. Actually, let's do number 5. We're going to do number 5. So 1 and 3. Okay? That's the decimal places. So I know at the end I got to move it 4 times altogether. So I'm going to do 11.361, 361 thousandths times 14.7. Once again, when multiplying, you don't have to line up the decimal points. That's only addition and subtraction. So 7 times 1, 7. 7 times 6, 42. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 4 is 25. And 7 times 1 plus 2 is 9. 7 times 1 is 7. 4 times 1, 4. 4 times 6, 24. 12, 14, 5, and 4. And we got to go down another one. 1, 6, 3, 1, 1. Add those all up. So we get 7, 6, 10, 20. So that'd be 8, 15, plus 2, 17. 5, 6, and 1. So I said already we have to move 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I get 167.0067. 167 and 67 ten-thousandths. Okay, so that's how that works. So I want you guys to go back to page 203, and you're going to do D, E, and F. D, and E, and F. So go ahead and pause the video and work on D, E, and F, and then come back and we're going to go through them together. Alright, now that you're back, let's do letter D together. Okay, so we have, if you look down here, we have 2 and we have 2, so 4 all together. So we have 0.04 times 0.32. 4 hundredths times 32 hundredths. 4 times 2, 8. 2 times 0, 0. 3 times 4, 12. And that'd be 1, so we're going to add this up. 8, 2, 1. Okay, we have to move it 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have a problem here. We have empty space. Like I said before, annex a 0. So your answer is 128 ten-thousandths. Okay? So now we're going to do letter E. So once again, looking down here, we have 2 and then we have 3. So now we have 5 altogether. So 205 thousandths times 26 hundredths. So 6 times 5, 30. 6 times 0 plus 3 is 3. 6 times 2 is 12. 2 times 5, 10. 2 times 0 plus 1, 1. And then 4. Okay, and now we know we have to move it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once again, another empty space, so we annex a 0. And there's your answer. Alright, and then letter F. Okay, we have 1 and 33 hundredths times 6 hundredths. If you look, that is 2 and 2, so we're going to have to move it 4 times at the end. So, 6 times 3, 18. 6 times 3 again, 18 plus 1, 19. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Come down to the next level. 0, 0, 0. Okay, we got to move it 4 times, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we didn't have to annex a 0 there, so we're just going to go ahead and put it down here. And you get 798 10,000ths. So guys, that's all you're doing when you multiply with decimals. Alright, you just pay it, see how many there are in the beginning. It has nothing to do with when you're multiplying, it just matters at the very end when you get your answer. So on the next page, the last thing you will see is a real life problem. So a certain car can travel 28 and 45 hundredths miles, or 28.45 miles, with 1 gallon of gasoline. The gasoline tank can hold 11.5 gallons. How many miles can this car travel in a full tank of gas? All you gotta do is multiply. So you take the miles that it can go times the gallons of gas, and we find that it can go 327.175 miles. Okay? So that's all they want you to do, still multiplication. So there are a couple of IXLs with this, so once you get done with the video, go ahead and go over to IXL and get those finished up. If you have not finished all the other ones, please do so too. Okay? And that is it.